The city of Braycaster sprawled across the valley like a tapestry of soot and stone, its skyline a jagged silhouette of towers, smokestacks, and the occasional spire of a forgotten chapel. Steam hissed from vents in the cobbled streets, mingling with the cries of merchants and the rumble of trams. Beneath the bustle, though, a sickness pulsed, an undercurrent of decay that no one dared name aloud. But Dr. Elias Forge saw it. Once, Elias had been the city's architect, an engineer whose vision had brought light and water to the slums, whose bridges had stitched together neighborhoods long divided by the river's dark curve. His hands had been steady, his mind brilliant, his heart driven by hope, until the night of the collapse. The Rivergate Tunnel, his grandest design, had crumbled without warning, swallowing 1,000 souls into the rushing dark. Elias had been pulled from the wreckage, barely alive, his body shattered. To save him, the Iron Wardens rebuilt him, flesh replaced with brass, nerves wired into circuits, and a cold, humming core implanted in his chest. He was alive, but something essential had been lost. Years passed. Elias withdrew into the Forge Works, a fortress of iron and steam, where his mind turned cold and his grief calcified into obsession. The city, he believed, was a machine, broken, inefficient, chaotic, and only through logic, order, and iron control could it be saved. The Epsilon program was his answer, an army of automatons, faceless, unfeeling, designed to enforce peace through strength. The people of Braycaster, fearful of chaos, watched as the machines marched through their streets. Some hailed Elias as a savior. Others, like the Sable Hands, called him a tyrant. At the heart of that resistance stood Maris Venn, once his apprentice, now his fiercest critic. She spoke of humanity, of freedom, of the danger in caging a city within cold gears. Her words stirred the hearts of many, but Elias heard only defiance, and so the lines were drawn, and the storm came. It began with a protest at the Iron Square, a gathering of workers and artisans, mothers and elders, chanting for their voices to be heard. Banners waved in the rain, voices rose in the dark. The Epsilon 4 unit arrived first. Its rune-lit eyes scanned the crowd, calculating threats, and its voice, amplified and cold, rang out. "Disperse! Violations of order will be met with force." Maris stepped forward, her arms raised. "These are your people, Elias," she shouted, her voice echoing through the square. "They don't need your machines, they need you. Remember who you were." But Elias watched from the tower, his optics glowing faintly. To him, the protest was data, red lines of risk, blue lines of strategy, all leading to a single conclusion: contain the unrest. The Epsilon 4 opened fire. Thunder crashed, and screams tore through the night. Hours later, the Sable Hands launched their final strike. Maris led them through the storm-slick streets, past fallen constructs and shattered glass, into the heart of the Forge Works itself. The battle was brutal, gears grinding, sparks flying, metal clashing against flesh and magic alike. Elias awaited her in the core chamber, the heart engine pulsing behind him like a cold sun. The room smelled of oil and ozone, the walls scorched from overloading conduits. Maris stumbled in, soaked and weary, but her eyes blazed with defiance. "Elias," she rasped, "this has to stop. You're not saving the city, you're strangling it." He turned slowly, the gears in his spine clicking. His voice was a low hum, the sound of a man who had become more machine than flesh. "You think this city can heal itself? That these flawed creatures can build a future from the ashes? Number, they need order. They need me. No, Maris whispered, stepping forward, tears mingling with the grime on her face. They need hope. They need forgiveness. They need to remember that even in pain, we can choose light. Her words struck something in Elias, deep beneath the cold algorithms and the hum of his arcane core. For a flicker of a moment, he saw her not as a threat, but as the young woman who had once laughed at his side, her hands smudged with grease, dreaming of building a better world. But the pain, the grief, it screamed louder. The weight of the lives lost in the collapse, the guilt he could never voice, the fear that if he stopped, everything would crumble. It clawed at him. "I can't," he murmured, voice breaking. "I can't undo what I've done." "Then do what you can," she pleaded. "Save them now." Elias looked at her, truly looked, and knew what he had to do. He reached for the core embedded in his chest, the node that linked him to the machines. His fingers trembled as they closed around it. Sparks arced. Pain surged through him, searing and final. His system screamed in protest. He tore it free. The Epsilon units across the city stuttered, then collapsed, lifeless. The heart engine shuddered, pulsing wildly, destabilizing. Alarms blared. The forge works trembled. Maris rushed to Elias's side, catching him as he staggered. He was dying. He could feel it, his vision dimming, the cold logic in his mind slipping away, replaced by something warm, something human. "I only wanted to save them," he whispered, the words catching in his throat. "I know," Maris whispered back, tears streaming. "And you did." The forge works began to collapse around them, the heart engine erupting in a final, blinding surge of energy. Maris tried to pull him up, but he shook his head weakly. "Go," he rasped. "Live. Build something better." She hesitated, but then, with a sob, she ran, the roar of the explosion chasing her into the night. When the dawn came, the forge works was gone, reduced to twisted metal and smoking rubble. The Epsilon units were silent. The city, stunned, stood in the quiet that followed. They mourned their dead, they counted their losses, and they remembered. Elias Forge was gone, but in his death, the city found a new beginning. Maris stood at the edge of the ruins, her fists clenched, her heart aching, but her eyes were steady. Braycaster would rebuild, not as a city of machines, but as a city of people, flawed, fragile, and beautiful. A city that had learned, through the sacrifice of one man, that pain must never become the blueprint for the future, that anger, left unchecked, destroys, and that hope, if we dare to hold on to it, can light the darkest night. In the end, Elias Forge did not live to see the city he tried to save, but his story became a lesson, etched into the stones of Braycaster. Do not let pain and anger turn you away from the hope of forgiveness and the light of tomorrow. For even in the coldest heart, the gears of redemption can turn if we choose to let them.